An observation that Baruch Spinoza makes in chapter 6 and chapter 7 of Political Treatise is that because in those two chapters he talks about the monarchy and he describes what it is, and then he tells us what he thinks it should be if we expect it to be reliable and stable over a long period of time. He points out one of the weaknesses of monarchy. And he says monarchy, there's this assumption that monarchy is having this one individual at the top with all the authority. It's either the king or the queen. They are top there, they have all the authority, their word is the law, and that's it. But he says that assumption is just an assumption because no one person has the capacity to be at the top there and to take that load and do everything by themselves. It's not humanly possible. That's an argument he makes. Then he says what tends to happen is that person, when they are at the top there, they end up having to rely on some other people. And these are people they pick behind the scenes and the public sometimes doesn't even know about them. And these people end up exercising a lot of power because they have a lot of influence on the king or the queen. And then the decision these people make might end up affecting the lives of the people. But the people don't know about them or didn't have a say on how they were picked. But the assumption is the king has the power. And I was reading this part and I was thinking of the story I've read somewhere about the emperor of Russia, but I think it's called Tsar Nicholas. Nicholas and his wife, I'm forgetting her name, the queen. That was towards the end of the 19th century and early 20th century. That's when the emperor was toppled and the communists came to power, the Soviets. So Tsar Nicholas ended up, this guy ended up coming into the palace. The guy was called Rasputin, and maybe some of you have heard about Rasputin. And this Rasputin guy ended up having a lot of influence on the monarchy. And in fact, many historians conclude that the fall of Tsar Nicholas came about because of the actions of this guy. So what Baruch is saying, although Baruch wrote this book maybe like 400, could be 300 or 200 years before what happens in Russia happened, is that there is no pure monarchy, like where the one individual has the absolute power. And that's a weakness because the assumption is this one person has the capacity to rule a huge empire by themselves and they can make all decisions by themselves, which is humanly impossible. And then they end up picking these people from the wherever nobody knows about them. And then so this is what he says. In fact, they are much mistaken who suppose that one man can by himself hold the supreme right of a commonwealth. For the only limit of right as usual is power, but the power of one man is very inadequate to support so great a lord. And hence it arises that the man whom the multitudes have chosen king looks out for himself, generals or councillors or friends to whom he entrusts his own and common welfare, so that the dominion which is thought to be a perfect monarchy is in actual working an aristocracy, not indeed an open, but an hidden one, and therefore the worst of all. So then what you end up having is an aristocracy, which is hidden, but we have this face of a king or a queen, and everybody assumes it's the king or the queen who makes all the important decisions, but it's not. And he also talks of, then it sometimes happens that the king is a young boy and then somebody else has to make the decision, or the king becomes sick and then somebody else has to make the decision. Then he also talks of a situation where when one person is put in that position, often they end up being very unhappy, number one. They also end up having a situation where they have to protect themselves because when you are in that position, so many people want that power. Some of them will align with you or come to you and trick you so that they share that power with you, and then they form an aristocracy, a hidden one as he describes. But others want to really topple you from power and they start to conspire. And when they do that, then this person becomes paranoid and sometimes they are very unhappy because of everything that he also talks about all that. Yes. So basically saying there is no pure monarchy because it's not humanly possible to have one.